Julie or Sirius Dallas Moon. This is Mars hour, midheaven ascendant 24 degrees Gemini, midheaven Gemini, ascendant Virgo, and Mercury 25 degrees Pisces. Um, I don't know why Moon was crossing Pluto. I get a lot of like things to say regarding children, but it's from the perspective of a child, and I don't think it often comes across that way. So, um, well, it also pertains to the new moon we're gonna have in Aries that everybody's talking about, which sidereally is in Pisces. And big shout out to um, Ask Holy How. Um, and she says that in Pisces we did not have sidereal Pisces. We did not have a new moon at 2 degrees Aries with 4 planets in sidereal Pisces in 400 years. So interesting to note. I did notice it's a very big stellium in tropical Aries. Um, but let's take a look at that because Aries is the head of the baby. That's why. That's why. Um, and what I'm really getting is that the children now a little bit of behind the scenes. Um, before the I don't know how many people seen the second Peter Raindrop. Okay, and it's not Rolodex yet, but is kind of like more names that have been affiliated or business related, um, and I'm one of the voices that was breaking the courtesan division, but also accentuating on how did they create offenders, and how does that serve extortion calls. So um, so in the background there are a lot of things to do with some of these people are my colleagues, like okay, and um, and there are a lot of things. Some of the people are parents. There are a lot of things where me tending to my inner child while I'm fighting off basically astral rape, and um, a lot of the things that come up have to do with the questions that are asked by the children, because I'm one of those children that kind of like, I have Rahu and Gemini in the fourth house. So you think about the Gemini archetype or the Gemini zero filter curiosity, but also particularly with Mercury in Aries, um, just naively asking the questions openly. And believe it or not, it brings a lot of information um, that is not always easy to present or process. Um, and here is another aspect that this Aries stellium is bringing that I, by the way, think is the head of the baby. The children that are coming to the world, or whether as people tending to their inner child, some of them, by the way, are parents. If a person has, let's say, Rahu in the fifth house, or Rahu in the fourth house can bring that as well, then that person might become a parent, and then it becomes apparent that that their inner child needs to be needs to be more fully addressed or more fully accessed. Um, and um, for me, I haven't become a parent, um, but I am coming to my realm maturation. And around my vow return, I remember I was tending to the growth of my business. It was around COVID, and the business coach was basically doing apprenticeship, and she talked about growing a business like growing a child. And I was a woman in my mid 30s, um, thinking, wait a second. I, I tend to grow in a business because I don't see myself like able to grow a child, whether emotionally or financially. And that was around COVID, where everybody were getting the things that interfere with the fifth vital sign. So I did a channeling experiment. Unfortunately, I was severely tortured. So um, there was an attempt to kind of expose me to the things to do with fertility while caring for my inner child. And it didn't result in me becoming a mom. It resulted with things that were horrific that I had to fight off. Um, and prior to the Peter Ring drop, there was a lot of, you know, a lot of things. Particularly with the voices that address the fact that people are not born child sex offenders or sex offenders against children, and not only that, the amount of energy that's invested in turning them into. Um, and the fact that no, those practices can't be swiped under the rug. And to the extent that the world is ready to hear that message, then that message comes out. And there's nothing much that, with Neptune, there is a sense of, having to, not having to, but also kind of, you know, putting the message out there, and whatever, it's a deeply intricate issue. But with this new moon, I'm getting, it's next to Chiron and Aries. So it's exactly about this topic where the children that ask questions, and there's something that comes to curate here, the head of the baby, regarding the circles of exactly those practices. Aries is Epstein ring, not just Epstein ring, but um, all those practices. And I think I'm the only astrologer I know that addresses Aries in that particular way. Um, and the way in which that comes up is there's something arises from, and usually Aries, I would think, you know, all the Aries archetypes, but Aries is also the head of the baby, and it brings questions of children or even requirements of children to curate their inner child or to live in a world where one can live. You know, the kind of things that children ask, the kind of things that children say. And all of this is happening while there are children that were mistreated and are proud of, let's say, doing evil. Chiron Aries comes to curate that wound. Um, the new moon is in the last decan of Aries, and the proximity to Chiron and Aries is definitely something to do. I think that the whole Epstein files sparks conversations, and because those conversations can't go the Me Too went too far road no more. Particularly not when we're going to get to the Rolodex, because the Rolodex was, or the Death through the Seers, that was pretty gruesome. Like, that was also the Epstein files, but um, I think with the Epstein files, they really tried to keep it at as underage women that supposedly did not have the emotional support because of whatever issues that the ring was creating, and then it kind of like more and more layers. But I think it's going to spark a conversation of how sex offenders are created, which is going to give rise to um, whether it's people like Olandra or people that have been talking about these things for quite some time as survivors. We are dealing with very big groups of people that have never seen not just justice, but love that is actually loving, being used as something that's not a bait. And those people are both the survivors of those rings, or the people who are still dealing with the targeting, and the people within those rings. And yet, those practices cannot continue because they make life unsustainable. And those who get into, oh, they make life unsustainable to some people, but to some people, that's just a theater tatter. I don't underestimate the theater tatter. But I also don't underestimate this very big stellium in Aries with this new moon with Chiron in Aries, the series of eclipses with Saturn Neptune that met in 0 and 1 degree Aries, and we dropped the biggest Peter ring on Earth. Um, and again, it was dropped simply because people were not even allowed to die. If there was a death with dignity, no suffering option, most of the people that complain about the effect of let's say the Epstein ring on their lives since age 0 or intergenerationally even might have not, if they were there, then I think that the conversations that are going to be sparked about how sex offenders were created and the fact that we need to continue those practices, that those would come up quite a lot. um, I come from countries where there are um, death with dignities on the basis of, let's say, particularly those things, and the the deprogramming um, and